Are we filming? Yes, we are. Just before I start, I just want to add a caveat to this video because I'm not 100% today. I'm still recovering from being rather ill, and I'm coughing quite a bit. So I normally video all the way through in one single cut, one single take, if you like. That may not be the case. I mean, I might get away with it today, but if it's a little disjointed because I've had to do some editing to cut out the coughs, then so be it. But I didn't want to delay any longer, and to be honest, getting back into the routine is quite therapeutic. So I'm glad to be back after I think I haven't actually released a video for a little while, a few days. So without further ado, this has been sitting in my porch for a few days, and I haven't had the. It's been so tempting to while I've been drinking lemsip and hot soup, etc., to just open it, but I wanted to share it with you guys rather than have that pleasure all to myself. So here we go. I've turned it upside down because let me use a sharper blade here, because I still haven't got round to sharpening my Swiss Army knife blade. So okay, let's just do this because I'm waffling a bit, aren't I? Oh, that's no good. This may be an Amazon parcel, but it's not from Amazon. It's just a reused parcel from a private seller. And this was so long ago that I actually bought this that I can't actually remember what it actually is. So we'll see. But packaging is pretty good. I would prefer it in a box, but you know, it's at the end of the day, I mean, this is the thing. If a seller decides to take a risk by not putting it in a box so that the parcel is vulnerable to someone treading on it or being squashed in this direction, then that is a risk not for me but for the seller, because if it is crushed then I will return it. Although, to be honest, I've had a couple this year where there has been damage, and I bought them so cheap that it wasn't going to be in my interest to send them back, and I didn't want to give the seller a bad day, because you know, it is what it is. I'm trying to be reasonable about these things, but as always, I'm looking for any invoice because I don't want to reveal that on camera. But let's just have a look what we have here. Okay, well, this is it. Let me just take that off camera and have a look. So there's nothing in here. So what is this? Let's have a look. It looks very, very similar to the classic vintage filofax slimline, which were made perhaps for decades. But we'll do some comparisons, but let's have a look what we've got here. So here we go. Well, first of all, before I do set it up, this is very, very well worn, and you know that I target sometimes, not always, but I have an interest in heavily used filofaxes or other binders, because I'm interested in their longevity, how they stand up to wear and tear that a typical heavy user might expect, so that I can pass that knowledge on to the wider community. So this is what appealed to me when I looked at this one online, and I got it at a good price because the description was a bit rubbish, and the photographs weren't perfect. But this is quite an interesting one. It's quite an interesting one because it is the style. There are clues that it's not a filofax. If you look at this particular filofax here, let me just show you. So it is a filofax 3CL made in real calf, made in England. Okay. This one has a different. I mean, this feels soft and lovely. Okay, very, very well worn, heavily worn. But this one has a more sort of, I wouldn't say plasticky feel, but it's definitely a different type of leather, and the construction, the stitching is slightly different. There's a little bit of irregularity. It is sort of similar, but different. I don't know how to describe it, but there we go. So let's have a look at this. Now, when you open the first page, it has the same. These two, I don't know what you call them, secretarial pockets. But let's do a little bit of a comparison because they're very, very similar. This is a softer sort of leather. Turn this over. This is without a doubt leather. Now this one is not leather. I don't believe that is leather. It may be some sort of reconstituted leather or sort of bonded leather. Hard to tell. Let me have a sniff of it. It feels like, I mean, it smells like leather, but it's definitely different. It is definitely different. This feels better quality. This, I don't really know whether it's leather or not. Might be imitation leather. Don't know. And yet this one here does feel like leather. So on balance, I think this is sort of probably a bonded leather. Who knows? Here, this is very, very nice. The construction it's well designed, which gives it perfect flatability. Look at that. Isn't that fantastic flatability? I mean, you cannot get better than that. How does that compare with the filofax one? Well, the filofax one is okay. I mean, I would say it's 100%, but it has a different flexibility. This one is very, very loose, which I like. But what other clues do we have? Well, I don't know whether this is a twin lock binder. I don't know. But if I just take this pack of paper out, just check these rings. There is a tiny little bit of misalignment, but not too bad. Not too bad, so I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. That actually is a very nice mechanism. Very nice. A little bit on the noisy side. How does that compare with the filofax branded one? Well, I'm clutching at straws here. I'm being a little bit pedantic. But I would love, if this was my only binder, a slimline binder, I could fit in I mean, these days, I don't really wear a jacket per se, as in a tuxedo. But I do wear coats and jackets where this sort of thing this slimline personal size binder would work very, very well. I mean, it is a nice thing. It is a lovely, lovely thing. And one of the advantages, and I know I bang on about it, but give me some rope here. The fact is, this is what Boris Johnson would describe as oven ready, i.e. you do not have to wait 50 years before it become like this one. This has probably taken 50 years to get to this floppy, usable state that I like. And you can tell how badly worn it is because it's worn all the way through in places, but still, this will still be around in 100 years potentially. So very nice. But this one already has, it hasn't had so much wear. I would say this is in much better condition than this one. But I don't think it is a file. Clearly there's no logo on it, so that's a little bit unusual. Filofax used to make this type of vintage binder for other people, and the pocket design, the front in the two pockets and the rear pocket, they're very, very similar. I'm just looking, yes, they are identical in alignment there. How do they stack up here? Yeah, they're identical. They could be made in the same factory, surely. So if someone said to me, Neil, look, it is a Filofax, albeit not in name, but it is a Filofax. It was made in the same factory. Don't worry about it. I'm not worried about it. I'm just curious. But it is an enigma. That's what it is. It is an enigma. And, it is nice. There is a clue, and I don't know whether it's a clue where I'm jumping down the wrong tree. But it has this pack. It might be unopened, but there's this pack of Twinlock branded pocket book sheets. That's what it's called, pocket book sheets. And they are very, very clearly Filofax sized. And they're quite nice. I quite like the fact that they have rounded edges. So it is nice. It's whenever I acquire a pack of unused sheets like this, I'm always tempted, to open them and use them as they were so designed. But I try not to. Because it's an interesting thing. It's an interesting thing as it just left on its own. So I will probably put that on one side. I have seen Twinlock branded binders. This hasn't got any branding. It might be the case that this was made for a company that specified a logo-free binder, possibly. Who knows? But as it stands, I won't tell you how much I paid for this, but if I did, you simply wouldn't believe me. But it was less than a tenner. And that's one of the bargains of the century, I think, for something that is so well crafted, with such fantastic quality leather, if that is what it is. It seems like it is leather. Let's have a look inside this pocket. Yeah, that is leather. Yeah, I would say. And it smells leather. It looks like leather. It smells like leather. It is leather. But what pleases me about this is the construction is definitely It's definitely different to this particular. I mean, I have several of these slimline vintage binders, as you know. Probably about 10 of them knocking about all over the house. But this is. I have seen this style before, where you have a very, very thin piece of leather that wraps round, and there is some sort of stitching. This one is all over the place, to be honest. I don't know whether you can see that. Yeah, I think you can see that. This whoever did this seam probably had a skinful the night before and got into work, or they were chatting and they were looking out the window. They were going along here, and then they looked out the window, or dressed their mate Fred to the next or Bert or Sarah or whatever his or her name was, and then they drifted over there and then back again. And I wonder whether they had a little chuckle, and one of them says to the other, "Do you know, someone's going to spot that in 50 years' time and chat about it on YouTube." And they'll say, "YouTube? What's YouTube?" Well, live long enough and your children will find out. So I think this is a really, really nice acquisition, an addition to the collection. I like it a lot. One of the things that I don't like about worn personal size binders is that you have this ridge here when they're badly fitting. But I've just spotted, as I've been running my fingers along here, I can see that there is some saving in construction methods, because there is no recess in which this fits, so there's extra material. Let me just briefly explain. If you take a filofax branded binder and you open it, you can see that this piece of leather is cut out of this piece of leather, and so they should fit perfectly, and this one does, even though it's probably 40 or 50 years old. It fits there. Does this one fit? No, not quite. So, because there's a bit of a stretch, so it's a bit random. It depends on how the leather stretches. So it's not perfect, but the premise of the original design was so that if you didn't use the secretarial pockets, if that's what these are, then this leather would fit into here, and this leather would fit into here, and so you would be able to turn over the page and you wouldn't feel a sharp ridge. But that's academic on this one, because it's worn so they don't fit perfectly, or at least the smaller of the two pockets doesn't fit perfectly, and secondly, I'm not reviewing this one, I'm reviewing this one. But there is a difference here, because there is no recess. So these three pockets, these three items, if you like, are made out of three separate pieces of leather, whereas here you talk about one piece of leather making this entire area here with both the secretarial flaps as well. So a bit of a difference there, a bit of a difference to the stem, and the fact that there is no filofax trademark on this. Who knows? I mean, it's a difficult thing. I don't know. It's a bit of a mystery. But whoever made this, I like it. It has a certain. It's got a nice feel to it. It's got perfect flatability. It is what it is. A fantastic, unnamed binder in the style of a traditional vintage slimline filofax You be the judge as to who made it and how good you think it is. Until my next video, thanks very much for watching and goodbye.